Thank you very much for welcoming me aboard here. I'm very impressed by the quality of your audience because I'm fully concentrated on television and not especially in computer science. I'm coming to all the e-inclusion topic that Helmut just mentioned because the future of television has a lot to deal with e-inclusion. But at the same time, I want to show you an overview of the little big mess where television is diving those last years. So the title of this keynote is How Accessibility Could Drive the Future of Television. And in other words, today we are looking for the future of televisions, just this. And accessibility is still an accessory thing in the traditional television. And the things I want to promote, even demonstrate here, is the fact that we are facing two big challenges and maybe they could cope together to bring a real nice future for television and accessibility. So the first part of this presentation is really dedicated to the current situation, and it's something you know as probably a television user, but we experience it with a maximum of effect and fear considering our the future of our profession. So to summarize, it's sort of big uncertainty. We are absolutely not able to know if we are going to exist in 10 years with the same economic model than today. This is the first schema here that reflects the field of television in France. So 6 years ago, we had a very main terrestrial broadcasting system which drove more than 77% of the population to catch the television, and today we have to deal with at least 20 big networks instead of one. So it's very difficult for us to invest at the right time and to know exactly what is the market is looking like. So especially in France today, in 2014, we have more now than 50% of people that receive television through broadcast IP networks. So this is something completely mad to have in at least less than 10 years such change in the audiovisual field. The other interesting graph I wanted to show you is the fact that during the last year we have now more than 21 million percent of people that looked at live television on their computer, and even 8% people that looked live television on smartphones. So we were sure that television our connected devices were just for on-demand television like YouTube or so on, and now we are very we have a large count of people that really watch live television on these connected devices. And finally, another good chart here that shows that now we have more connected devices like our smartphones than even computer, and we have a big increase on connected devices that are only centered on screens. So a computer could be easier for doing a maximum of things, and especially to produce a lot of different works, whereas smartphones and tablets are completely driven by the screen, and these are now more connected than the other computers, the former computer. We have counted last year the number of screens per home, and we have found 6.5 screens per home in France. So that's huge, and we were not prepared at all to receive that figure like that, and especially with 29% of home equipped with a tablet. So when I look at the previous strategic notes we wrote about 6 years ago, we couldn't expect this. It was maybe double or triple less. So with 44 contacts with media every day for each person, that's also for us a completely new design of the way we produce television. And finally, the biggest hit was received a few months ago with this graph that simply tells us that television is not the first screen and the other are the second. Now the first screen is definitely the smartphone and the television is second. And the laptop is just behind. So the word second screen is everywhere, in every mouth, but the second screen is not the one we think. If we are still looking to the increasing of on-demand and streams, especially here in the world of music, we have an average of plus 42% in just 1 year, the last one, plus 42% of the increasing of the on-demand streams concerning music. So I don't know if you have chosen last year to now listen to music online instead of offline like CD or MP3, but now it's definitely a big turn for music, and we are facing the same with video. We have now, especially with networks like subscribed VOD networks like Netflix or Hulu or our French brand also, if we are facing exactly the same turn. And with this kind of increasing, we are just wondering about what about our economic model will survive to this within the next 5 years. The vice president of Ericsson told a few months ago that in 2020 he was expecting exactly a half of consumption of video, half live and half on demand. So this means that even we are still, television is still serving something for live events, especially when we have the World Cup here for the football. We know that live television has a future, but we were used to be here for more than 85% of the total consumption of video, and now we are turning to this 50-50 equation in 2020. So we have to find a new rule, a new economic model to face this reality. So this was sort of situation description, and now we are having a look at the new regulators. Formerly, and it's still the case for traditional television, we are regulators that are designed by government, decided like the United States Frequency Allocation Association, and we have in France the Conseil supérieur de l'audiovisuel, the regulator authority for television, and they all decided how we are using the spectrum. And it's more than decided to allocate a part of the spectrum to one television or one telecommunication company like a cell phone company. When we are a television, we have a frequency allocated, but we have some deep inspection of what we are doing with this frequency. And especially we are constrained on the number of advertisement minutes we offer every day. We have some limitation considering the age categories of program we are broadcasting. And we are also deep investigated concerning the editorial content we provide on these networks, and especially when we are unfortunately giving false information, we are punished. But at the same time, when a telecommunication company is owning a frequency and use it for IP connection, and especially for internet, there is no regulation at all, and everything could be distributed on this frequency at every hour for every public, and especially with all kind of content. So this is not fair in this world, especially if we are facing this 50-50 separation in the coming years. So we have a sort of new regulator for IP networks, which is called net neutrality. So net neutrality is maybe dying. I don't know if you have an idea about this, but in the US, they have taken the FCC have taken a position against the net neutrality. Even in France, we are also thinking about throw net neutrality away to save some big telecommunication company that are completely against it. And that's a pity, because today net neutrality is something which is very important for the regulation of the internet. As I told you, there is no government regulation on it if we live in a democracy. And the only regulation we have thanks to net neutrality is the audience. If there is too many ads, too many violence, or too many long or complicated things in the content you provide, then the public just run away, and that's a sort of regulation. And this is the only one we have. So if net neutrality is going away now, we have no idea about what should be the next regulator. If some people want to throw net neutrality like Netflix, it's also a good reason for because today net neutrality is probably facing the limitation. It's going to limit. Excuse me, I'm looking for my English word. Okay, let's forget it. I was used to have all my notes here, but there is no notes appearing on this, so sometimes I'm a bit lost. I have to think about all my notes that are just not here. So let's throw away Netflix. It's my biggest enemy today. So this one is very interesting. The biggest fear of our generation is to have a lack of network, have a very slow networks, and have a lack of energy of battery for running our new devices. And today, fortunately, in television, we don't have that sort of problem. But tomorrow, we have to face them. And finally, the new regulator we are facing and we are coping with is the audience satisfaction. And today, the audience satisfaction is not moving anymore regarding the television current media, but are only linked to the internet. And if we still consider the current situation about even our work as a program editor, we are facing now a new concurrent like Dailymotion and Netflix that now offers studios for creator for free to create some new things and some new programs and distribute it on the internet on those IP networks. And for us, television, if we are not the broadcaster because IP has replaced the traditional broadcaster, we are also stolen in our situation of editor and content provider by those sort of new players. So we recently opened in Paris, the Dailymotion recently opened in Paris more than 600 meter square studios for every kind of contributor for free. And finally, if we still own a little money to do our television activity, we are not the only one, and we have, especially in France, very good start of crowdfunding system like Kickstarter, Major Company, and Ulule. And now we face some content produced by those instead of our traditional model. So, facing this very, very dark situation, we have now first certainties about the coming years. We are in a connecting life. We have absolutely the necessity to help people being connected, to be part of the big network like Facebook has demonstrated, or Twitter, or even some traditional communication revolution like Skype or WhatsApp and Viber. And television has to offer something that deals with this connecting life. So this is a way to say that the future of television must be connected for communication. At the same time, television still has to offer information and to renew the way it provides information. So communication, information, and productivity. We are completely moving in a world where our connected devices are something now essential for our everyday life, and especially if we are thinking of the next steps for television, we have to deal with the devices used at work and not only for entertainment. We have also some big certainties. Is the fact that everything evaluates every day, and every 6 months we have a big update of something. And when we are looking at it with, for example, my grandma eyes, every time we have a new interface, we are first looking at recovering the habit, the skills we had with the previous one. So the where is it gimmick is something I'm now hearing every day at work, not especially with elderly people, but just with my colleague facing the new interface, for example, of an Apple or Windows device. So we have also something to do on this, especially if we want to be to have a nice future with our audience, is especially to really look at this interface problem and this fashion of renewing everything every 6 months. And finally, today, if we are building the world of the new world of digital life, just have to think about the fact that in 30 years, all these valuable people that build this world today will be probably facing disabilities, for sure. And how could we imagine today, as we are completely stuck to our smartphones or computers, to live without, because this disabilities problem. So this is probably the biggest challenge we want to achieve with our audience today. To come back to France Television, we are quite old audience. We are the public broadcaster, and the average of people watching at, for example, France 2, or the main channel we have, are an average of 55 years old. So those people are moving to tablets and smartphones like all the other ones instead of television. But what about their user habits in 20 years? So finally, how could we drive it, the future of television, thanks to accessibility or with accessibility? We have some big challenges that could be summarized in the fact that if we are looking at the biggest challenge, for example, the deaf people or the blind people, to make them the television accessible to them, then it should in a way serve all the fragile population that are not so handicapped but just a little. And especially if we are looking at elderly people, if we are thinking of foreigner people, for sure the effort we are doing for the most disabled people will serve the whole population. The second concept is the fact that disability or handicap is not something we are always experiencing when we are mentally handicapped or physically handicapped, but the environment is most of the time very nasty handicap situation for all people, and especially if we try to understand something among the noise of a subway, or if we try to look at the screen when we have the sun just facing it. The accessibility of the devices is a challenge for every kind of content provider, and especially if we are creating a system for reinforcement, for the reinforcement of the voice in a program to help hearing impaired people to understand the story. For sure, this same mechanism should be usable for everyone in a subway. That's some very evident cooperation we have to bring for driving our next technologies. And we have also a big challenge, that is the design of a user-centric interactivity. We are looking at interactivity for 10 years now, trying to work with the feedback of telespectator, but if we are now using interactivity just to make the application itself be taught by the user, to know exactly how the user is reacting and how is disabled, in which way the user is disabled, to readapt the interface itself, then we have reversed the interactivity to a user-centric one. So we have started a little things with this, and now we are especially we propose a specific online news program which is fully adaptable, fully configurable by the user, and we are propose the user to recompose the interface, and for sure to memorize it, for having its own good size of consuming the news we propose, and we are not the only one to do this. So the interface personalization is very, very important. And I wanted also to say a word about synchronization. I just wanted to show you a little video, but I don't know if I can launch it, which is another try we made for proposing a configurable player. So I try to hit the space bar, but I don't have anything going on. So okay. No. Okay, so it's an HTML5 player which proposes you to activate some subtitles and to change the size of it, the color, the shadow, could allow you to activate or not the audio description. So this kind of thing is not possible on television today. We can't change the size of subtitles, and especially we can't change the color of it also. And it's not very easy to activate the audio description when we are blind with a strange interface. So that's a solution we have in the range of portable device, and especially thanks to HTML5. And this is what I wanted to demonstrate, but it's short things. And if you want to see it, for sure I can show you. And also, we have now some very interesting API that analyze the mood of people, and so thanks to this mood analysis, we have also new interfaces to command our application, and we are also working on this. And for sure, a new interface is, especially something driven by the mood detector, is something very usable for the next generation of interface. And we also have one very important range of investigation, which is the synchronization of streams, and especially across multi-streams and multi-screen. So, excuse me, this synchronization could be demonstrated, but it's also a video, I can't launch it. The interest of synchronization is to, for example, to receive the traditional television from satellite or terrestrial network, and then to grab the audio description or the original version from an IP network on a smartphone, and then synchronize the two systems. And what is important here, and what we achieved a few years ago, is to synchronize with a very thin delay between, so it should be less than 10 milliseconds for having no echo sensation. And then it is possible to watch to something, for example, to watch a program, traditional program with all the family and the blind people, or the foreigner people is able to listen to the alternative language just thanks to the earplugs plugged into his smartphones or tablets. So that's something we have demonstrated, and we're working on this, and it's especially a synchronization thing that we want to promote in this future of television. So we could also experience the same thing, and we are working on this today for proposing that on your laptop version of the television you could receive the traditional signal, and you could also grab, for example, the sign language from an alternative location, and not especially from the same signal source. And this is also opening a new world of public contribution. And for example, if on our educational program some people, some education association, or some even parents that is able to sign, and these people wants to translate the program to deliver it with sign language, we could offer in our new interface the fact that we could grab the traditional program from our traditional network center, and on the other hand grab the sign language translation alone and synchronize them into the same interface. So it's also a new field of possibilities for our future. And finally, we have also a big work to do in the field of search. And today we know that we are more and more lost when we provide the content, especially on the internet. We are now lost with billions of contents, and the only things we have to have our content seen by a maximum of people is to be found when someone is searching for something. So today, when I, for example, search for image de Paris in my traditional search engine, I just have this sort of result which is proposed to me. And if we now dive into the world of, especially of semantic analysis, the answer should be this one. So it's a first filter, or a lot of filters, that should help me to improve my search and find with a more accurate, in a more accurate way, the right content I want. So we also have a very, very big work on this. So all these new keys, which are synchronization, new interface, and especially automatic composed interface or user-centric interface, and new search engines, are all three the key of a research project we are today working on. And I hope being able to come back here in a few years and show you how this new television future could be drove by those keys that should serve all the public. I thank you very much for your listening, and have a very nice conference here.